can't do a video about jointed claws without being in the home of the jointed claw. Now, this is Japan, and obviously we're in a Gan Craft office with the wall of jointed claws behind me. Now, we're going to go through a little bit about the history of the jointed claw, because although it's been in Australia now for a few years, there's a lot of people don't really know anything about it or where it came from to start with. So let's go back a little bit to the early 2000s. Now, some of you weren't born there. That was quite a long time ago for some of you, but Mr. Hero, or the eccentric creative genius of Gan Craft, came up with this lure here. Now, that is a solid surface lure or subsurface lure called a Z-claw. Now, the Z-claw wasn't designed for what it eventuated into. This was designed as a top water lure to walk the dog, and it did it brilliantly. However, in some of the models of the prototypes, they had the weights forward. And what they found accidentally and by pure fluke was that this lure would sink slightly head first and then walk the dog underwater. So it was creating an S shape underwater. Now, Mr. Hero went away and thought, geez, wouldn't it be great if I could make a lure that did that naturally without having to force the head down and then get it to move quite quick? That's when he came up with the jointed claw. Now, the 178 jointed claw was the first one that started it all. The S swimming action revolution. Everybody's now heard of glide baits. 10 years ago, maybe you wouldn't have. But this is the first, the original, and the best. So created way back in 2004. And it's become quite a cult lure in Japan and many other parts of the world. From 2004, that was the size, 178. But as things went along, the market demanded different sizes, whether they be bigger or smaller. After the 178 came the 148. Now, the 148 is just a smaller, slightly smaller representation, but those with gear that couldn't cast heavy lures, so a lighter outfit, were able to cast this smaller lure and still get that S-shaped swimming action. Following the 148, people like me wanted things a bit bigger, and size does matter. That one there's my favourite colour in that size. That's a 230 Magnum. So when you compare that with the original 178 in size, it's not a huge jump, but the action that this 230 puts into the water is a very wide and definite S-shaped swimming action. It's beautiful to swim, and those that have seen me swim would know. That is my favourite colour too. I've used that up at Mulwala and been smacked around a bit. That's been very good. Now, coming from the 230, we come now to the 303. Now, that whopper there, that's Shaku 1. That's as big as they come. However, you do need thumbs of steel. This thing at 12 inches weighs just over 11 ounces. So it's a heavy, big bait, but it does have a great representation in the water and does work very well if you've got the gear to cast it. Again, at 11.5 ounces is a fair whack of weight there. Now, after the advent of the dirty grey big one, came this one. Now, in Australia, we've been doing pretty well on the Australian bass with this, the estuary perch, all sorts of fish, even, small natives like the yellow bellies, even the persistent pests like the redfin trout. They've been all over them. Again, made to look like an RU. They swim beautifully, but at 128 means you can cast it with just about anything. Your lighter sort of your spin outfits or your lighter bait caster outfits will still punch that out, no worries at all. But we still had a big hole in the market. Now, what about brim, perch, trout in the smaller streams and that sort of stuff? We needed something a little bit smaller, and this year, being 2020, the release of the 70. So a jointed claw 70mm S-shaped swimming lure, small enough that you can chuck at anything and on any gear. That's a brilliant adaptation of that great big 178 lure that we started with. So that's where they've come from. That's what they are. And as you can see, they've been around for a long time. The colour range is huge, from 2004 all the way through to 2020. This is the past. There's a lot more to come in the future. So stay tuned. I'm sure you're going to hear much more from Gan Craft in the near future about the jointed claw. Thanks.